Hello, everyone. It's Chandani and Sonia Greaves.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi, tuning in today. We've had
Oh,
an impossible time trying to go live, so we're just recording our conversation for you. And as you are watching it now, it's a post interview with Sonia today, which is fine. I'm really happy, Sonia, that you took the time today to come on and discuss the ongoing challenges that we're all faced with, seemingly with this COVID-19 crisis. And if anybody doesn't know, Sonia May Greaves is my beloved partner in England. We have launched the Radiant Beauty and Wellness workshops that we've implemented over the last couple of years together after meeting each other at an event in Los Angeles, and found out we were colleagues and kindred spirits. And it's been such an honor for me to get to know you and your work, and for us to collaborate in the ways that we have over the last couple of years. I feel like we're more sisters than colleagues at this point, and,
absolutely.
and sharing this love and practice of whole health and wellness. And before we start into our conversation of what it means to be completely whole and healed and practice wellness, especially today more than ever, I'd love for you to talk about who you are and what brought you to where you are today, and a little bit about your practice and what it involves and who you treat and who your audience is. So,
Okay. So, hi everybody. Yes, I obviously am here based in Manchester in the UK. I am a therapist, a naturopath, herbalist, natural therapy practitioner is what you would call me. I encompass different things to do holistic treatments for my patients that come to me, and they could be, my youngest patient has been 5 weeks old and my eldest 91. So anything, it's health. It's about, I treat bodies. I view my job as treating a body. So I don't really take notice of the sickness or the ailment that arrives, because I have to find out what has happened to that body to enable it to become disorganized and diseased, as we like to say. So I use different practices for that, to help me to understand and discover, most importantly, listening, and finding out the depth of the person's journey, how long they've been here, what they've been doing along that journey, to understand why they could possibly have got into that situation. So from a naturopathic perspective, I employ fasting, detoxification methods in order to help the vessel to be clean. And a lot of that has to be taught, because we've come away so far from where we began that people in their everyday don't understand the processes that have to be brought together in order for them to get to heal and be well again. Well-being is really, really important, and it encompasses everything: mind, body, spirit. But we actually only focus on the physical ailments, because that is the thing that stops us doing the everyday thing that we think is our lives. So I try my best to open that up for people so they understand how important it is in the process, and teach them how to do those practices. So detoxification, and then implementation of nutrients, and watch where the body takes them in order to understand what it is that we need to focus on to help the healing process to go to fulfillment effectively. I think I've answered all of that question.
that it's such a comprehensive practice,
It
as
is.
I know from my Ayurvedic practice as well. That's an ongoing. I was speaking with Sophie Uliana yesterday, that as practitioners or medical professionals or anybody sort of in the healing and wellness industry, you're actually in any industry, we're continuously learning and refining the practice and
Absolutely.
understanding of the science, of the lifestyle of our patients, our audience. So I know that you deal with a lot of sick people most of the time,
In
because
the main,
that's
yeah.
that's sort of when people come. But I also, with working with me and and being a distributor and ambassador for Chandani.com, you also are a huge advocate on prevention and also sustaining whole health, which is how you live in your life, in your and how essential it is. How I've heard from you so many times that you've told me, I deal with people that are very sick and I take care of them and I have great results with people most of the time. But I get so frustrated at a certain point as well, because people ignore and don't pay attention and are oblivious to what they should be doing on a day-to-day basis to prevent themselves getting to a place like that, possibly. Can you comment on that and talk about what it is that you do in your life? I know that you were sick a number of years ago that led you to your practice of whole health and naturopathy. What do you do that's so important for you as a daily practice to make sure that you're in tune with your body, that you're in tune with the balance of how you live and what you incorporate in your life, just generally speaking, before we move further?
Well, I think the most important thing for me is to be centered. And it doesn't matter, I don't think, what you are presented with, because you need to understand it. And by understanding it, it's understanding you, because you and I could both present with a set of symptoms, but they would be there for a different reason, because we've come from a different place. And so the energy of that takes us to the physiological point where a system like your urinary system or your circulatory system can go out of kilter, can happen because of an emotional, and ordinarily would happen because of an emotional state. So for me, the centeredness comes with, on waking, I've got an internal listening to my body to understand where I'm at. So, for example, in this moment where we are in this unprecedented state of being still, which I like and do promote people to be still, but it brings other things, because it's unusual for us to not be able to do something because of a situation that we can't see or hear or understand. And so I think that in this moment particularly, even my body is presenting with symptoms that I do not understand why they're there, but yet I do know that maybe I'm not, which is very strange, drinking enough water, so I'm dehydrated. And that's at a cellular level. This has been a prolonged state now for, at least here in the UK, 8 weeks where we have been locked down. And so for me to not be hydrated like I would ordinarily be in my everyday life is very, very unusual. But I'm conscious of it and recognize it, and I try, but it's not happening. So I know that from my personal behavior, that is my stress point. For some reason, I am unable to recognize that I still need to be able to drink my 4 liters of water a day, but it's not physically going in, my body won't accept it. So I'm not beating myself up in that. I'm trying to eat more watery food. So I'm introducing a bit more salads, and I'll add a bit more of my superfood powders to try and create the hydration internally, because I'm not getting it with my water. So that said, I can wake up in the morning and I don't feel bing bright like I normally do. And I think, okay, I'm not feeling that. I want to do some exercise. The exercise isn't happening the same, because clearly I don't have the energy. My muscle tissues are dehydrated, and so I feel a bit more sluggish and my body feels heavy. So as I go through my day, I'm just saying, okay, that's what's actually happening. What are you going to do to try to change that situation? And every day I add something else to my toolbox to help me to overcome that. So over 8 weeks, those can build and become a huge mountain. But yet still, every single day, I still implement something that is going to help my body, because it's about enabling your body to be able to do the job it has to do when it's faced with things. It doesn't come from us. It's an innate intelligence that's already there. So long as you are aware of the things that you need to have within you and to then put into you, then it's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up about it, and don't make that become another stress, because if physiologically you already are under par, but then mentally you upset yourself because you're going round in circles trying to resolve, it's not going to work, because then it's going to affect your emotional state, and we have a whole other set of problems that are going to come along. So every day I hydrate. I'm happy. I think the centeredness is about being happy with who I am, and understanding that over all of these years of practicing, learning, studying, I know, and that's it's enough. I know that I am enough, and so I allow my body to get on with its everyday job of living, and it tells me when there is something that I have to intervene with. I started off from a young age with having ailment and illness, and I remember at the age of 8 I was already taking medication for migraines. In my 30s, I then recognised that that was about liver stagnation, because I hadn't had any accident or trauma that had affected my cervical spine, and a little girl. But I did have a lot of emotional problems as a young child. So I started in that state, and that just built and built and built to the point where I had a hysterectomy on my 30th birthday. By that point, I'd had 9 operations in all. I had 10, and 24 years in all of taking allopathic medication for symptoms that just kept arising, and nobody really could diagnose a specific. It was just, oh, there's something else and something else. And because we treat symptomatically in allopathic medicine, all of the causal factors were ignored, or that were never ever discovered, because they don't really take place in the allopathic processing. And so finding naturopathy for me, I started to study. I'd started to do things like remove foods, etc., understanding I had to drink more water prior to that. But in 2003, I started to study naturopathy. And then, so that was 5 years study, and it encompassed all of the naturopathic practices. I studied some Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and homeopathy, and I chose to specialize in Western herbs. So that I'm a herbalist as well as a naturopath, and I treat with herbal medicine as well as other things. I look at, as I said before, holistically, mind, body, spirit. So I do energy work with Reiki, and I use systems of detection, biofeedback resonance. I use a system called the Azara Pro, and I use another system called Scanar, which enables me to find out what energy pathways, meridian systems are blocked in the body. And so in so doing, we're able to unblock those and allow people's bodies to flow, because disease comes from blocked energy. And so once the brain knows that that is happening, and it recognizes that you can give it something to help it to undo that, then the body's natural self-healing mechanisms kick in, and that it's out of your hands, really. It's out of your hands, because the transformation takes place, and then that obviously helps you mentally and emotionally to be in a different place. And so your journey then opens up, and life changes dramatically. It changes, and that's when you start to live and not exist.
I think that's a similar story for most practitioners. I can't speak about medical practitioners because I'm not a medical professional. I'm a holistic Ayurvedic practitioner, and you're a holistic herbalist and naturopath. And I think for us in that industry, in that space, there is a lot of instigating the science behind letting the body heal itself, which is actually quite a mystical space that is so complex and so illogically driven, because sometimes you'll take care of something and then something else that is not directly related to what you're fixing fixes itself. So there's this whole universe within the body that if you sort of, as a mechanic, change the oil and change the spark plugs and give it sort of a reset, the car or the machine, the body goes from functioning. And so understanding that nature of the body's ability to heal itself, the natural pharmacy of the system to move into harmony and balance, also brings you to a place of your own humility around
Mhm.
who your body is and how it functions and what it is that it needs daily, and not to be fundamental about it, not to be so dogmatic about it like we have been in
Yeah.
the Western holistic realms of vegan, hardcore veganism or raw foodism, or pigeonholing us into sort of climactic, you know, tendencies that also have the opposite effect of
Absolutely.
pushing the body out of balance again. And so it has to be navigated daily, momentarily, episodically,
Yeah.
situationally, like we are now. So maybe what the body needs today during COVID-19 crisis in Manchester, England, for Sonia May Greaves is completely different than what she needed 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
What do
My
you
body's
what do you think is the most challenging thing for an individual? What do you think is the biggest block that stops a person from navigating change so fluidly like that? What is it that makes us so staunch, committed to how we are and what we do, and having our coffee and having our this and having our that? What is it about our makeup? Is it fear? Is it
I definitely say it's fear. It's fear of not being able to live up to the persona, the image, the what's the word? Not the transformation, the cloak. It's like putting the makeup on.
the facade?
Not it's not even a facade, because I don't think people live their lives thinking that they're living a facade. I think we're born and we've got everything available to us, and then our socialization and the culture takes things away from us, and then we're taught that we should have this or should be that or should do that, and people just create a persona to fit in with that. And so once you find the key to the door that helps you to not be visible because you don't feel good enough, then you just keep doing that. And so if there is, even if something, you might alight upon something that makes you feel good, if you don't quite look like the image that is portrayed that you should look, you actually ignore that feel good and keep going towards the unattainable, which doesn't exist effectively. So I think it's more the fear of not being able to keep up this image that we have decided we should be in order to fit in. I think that's what it is. It's the fear behind that, being out of control, and the control is not in control because you're actually just playing a part. That's my experience, I think.
It's, you know, I have had some conversations with some people during this time,
Mm-hmm.
professionals, you know, people in families, people, laborers, I mean, across the board. And the biggest sense of fear or sense of insecurity is this inability to have any kind of certainty around what's going to happen tomorrow. And so a lot of
Absolutely.
people are sort of robbed from actually this moment of what they can do in fear
Absolutely.
of what they may not have and what they've
Yeah.
lost,
Yeah.
which created this huge emotional disease in people, imbalance in
Mm-hmm.
people, and has pushed them towards separating the head from the body even more.
Absolutely.
You know, all the alcohol uh, distributors are making more money than ever because
Absolutely.
the sales of alcohol have gone up. I'm sure with drugs, illicit drugs as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as holistic professionals and medical professionals also during this time, how do we navigate correspondence, therapies, solutions, education today in this moment to people that truly have no tools or access to opportunities that can help them move through this chapter as safely as possible? What do we do? as these leaders in our industry? What do you think are some of the best things we can help navigate this?
At this point, whilst we're mid-term and going through it, I think we can only offer support and a voice and an ear. I think because everybody is trapped in the situation, and as I said, we're 8 weeks in, so other things have come into play, because it's not just about the person, it's about their lifestyle and their livelihood. So I think those things will take precedence. But some people have got problems with the jobs. There are a lot of lucky people who can still work under the circumstances, but there are a whole new array of problems that have come to people who before had a life that they were happy with. So I think until the machinery stops and there is some understanding, because then the primary thing with the COVID situation is everybody's scared of dying. So that has taken over anything else that might be happening. And so when people have an understanding of the condition and what our limitations are post-COVID, then you'll start to, because people will be very, very sick at the end of COVID, with nothing to do with COVID. They're going to be sick because the fact that they've stopped breathing, the stagnation and the blocked energy pathways that I talked about earlier are going to be wholly manifesting. And so, we can call it arthritis, diabetes, cancers, all of that stuff is going to go through the roof because of the stress factor, because of the chemistry that everybody is creating here. Everybody I always put it down to like an analogy to a car. It's like having your foot on the accelerator and you're just revving all of the time. So all of your battery system is constantly burning out. We've got cortisol, which is a hormone that just stresses everything else out in the body. And so when the actual whole COVID situation stops spinning, we're going to see the full manifestation of what has gone on in this period of time, where people have been trying to cope in a way that is unhealthy, to be fair, because mentally they're crushed. There's nowhere that is like a blanket of, okay, this makes sense, it's sane, let's do this, because come what may, at the end of it, we're going to have to be proactive. At least we'll have the strength to do that. It's living by reaction, which we did anyway in our life. Our every day was living by reaction, waiting for somebody to say that, I'm going to do that because of that. Nobody ever, I say this personally and my observation of the world as I've seen it in my 56 years. So, we live by reaction, waiting for somebody to tell us what to do. And especially in this scenario where nobody can tell you what to do because actually they don't know either. But there's still this great expectation, which is so not going to happen. And so people are falling down as a result of that. And that is going to manifest, I think, post-COVID, because people are going to be sick. They're going to be sick because they're not oxygenated. And it's quite interesting for me that we've got this condition that is affecting the respiratory system, and what we are doing is actually not breathing. And so we're just going to have to be here and hope that the message that we have, the knowledge that we have, the skills, the tools, and everything that we have around us, people are going to be open enough to be able to take it on board. Because ultimately, we are an energy that is in this world for the greater good. The universe has got our back, but we've set so far away that we don't understand that this is what life is, and we're supposed to be turning every single thing upside down in order to keep living and be vibrant. And it's existential to be breathing and live. So you just got to be here. I don't think that whilst it's going on we can do very much other than keeping ourselves centered and focused and gathering enough information from the situation to add that to what we already know, in order to help people to guide them through whatever their journey is, because everybody will be perceiving it differently. That's right. The other thing.
It's true. I feel like as our brand, we have a organic wellness and beauty line, and our sales have been affected, but we feel that people seem to be more open. Maybe the fear is a motivator, to try and
Yeah.
change their lives, by including things that are more holistic, more natural, more organic, more healing into their lives. But there is also, you're right, the stress factor. People don't want, I've spoken actually, just people that I know have said to me, oh, I really want to do the liver cleanse, but I can't stop drinking right now. When this
Yeah.
is over, I'll do it. And
It's so funny. It is so funny, but because, as I say, we live by reaction, and that's what they've always done. And so in this situation where it feels even more out of control, they're not going to think that. And it's made me smile, because the first thing I did was the liver cleanse when I came back from LA. So yeah, because I feel that I need to be, when all of the chips are down,
yeah.
I need to be focused. I've got to have everything lined up and ready to go so I can make good decisions, because I haven't got time, when we've gone through all this lockdown and all the crazy, to go into a detox because I've been filling myself with rubbish. It doesn't make sense to me. But that's because I've practiced being this person for the longest time, and I'm just super grateful, and I feel totally honoured that I've had all of the challenges I've had in my life in order to get to this place where I feel that whatever the challenges that come to me in my life, I've always got the right tools in order to be able to overcome them. And it's not that everything is squeaky clean and it's all through rose-colored glasses. It's the fact that if I take or make a decision based on everything that I know, on reflection, it's okay, even if it wasn't the right thing, because I'm not going to beat myself up about that, because that was what I knew to be at that time. And so there is the lesson for me I've learned. And so that's how I view things, and that's what I try to impart on the people that come to see me for their health and wellness. So yeah, this is a tough time for everybody, wherever they're coming from, but it's going to be really, really, really important post COVID to help people to reconfigure, to learn. But I'm seeing it as a really positive time. I totally recognise that people are dying here, and it's just upset so many families. Generations of families are being affected massively in this whole journey. But at the end, the ones that are left need to be able to put new foundations in and rebuild their families, and have strength and courage, and be strong enough to say, this is how we're going to move forward with our lives. And that is, again, as I say, it's about having the vessel strengthened so that the spirit and the soul and the emotion and the mentality is fertile enough to grow healthily.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like what we base our practice in anyway, is that we serve those who are ready to be served.
Yes.
That even as a product line, we can market the best we can. However, the utilization of our tools and our products can only be as effective as the receiver is ready to take it on. So that is, I think, as a practitioner and as just a human being, it takes wisdom and maturity to get to that place. Because when you discover a gem or a jewel or a truth, as a child, all you want to do is sort of share it with everyone, and you're excited. What do you mean? You don't want to do the liver cleanse during COVID-19? What do you mean you don't want to stop drinking? And that, even though initially it comes from a heart-centered place, it's actually very egotistical to have to force what you're ready for onto somebody else.
Yeah.
And the practice of holistic healing is, number one, to first observe non-judgmentally at what is in front of you. Second of all, use diagnostics and scientific evidence to find out what the imbalance is. And number three, to invite the opportunity for the patient or for the other end to receive what you have to offer in their own right, in their own total acceptance or opinion of saying yes or no to it. So I totally understand what you're saying, but at the same time, there's got to be things that you're addressing to your clients and to your patients as ways of taking care of themselves during this time. And if you had to give maybe 5 things daily a person could sort of do right now, anyone, I know everyone's in a different situation, but 5, what are the 5 things, that takeaways that you would give to advice that you would give to somebody? I highly suggest these 5 things during this time.
Okay, so echinacea, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, and thyme. I've been telling everybody to drink thyme tea. It's thyme, the thymol, it cleans the hairs in the lungs. So it's really good because, for example, a patient texted me last night, and she is, she does pranayama every day. She's like very practiced in her cleansing and keeping herself well. And she just said, I've not been able to breathe today. And she said, I've never had this before. I asked her if she had any more symptoms, and she said no. But she said it started in the morning, and I thought it was a bit strange, and now it's the evening, and it's more pronounced. I can't take a deep breath. So I said, well, dial 111. That's the number here for everything. And she said, I don't want to do that at the moment. So I said, okay. I said, go away, take a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper in some water, and wait for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then call me back and let me know how you're feeling. And she called me back, and she was 70%. She texted me back and said she was 70% better. And I think it was emotional, because I did what I noticed yesterday with all the people that I spoke to. They were all on a downer, all in a down mood. Now, I don't watch the TV or take the newspapers, so I don't have the influx of the information all of the time. And that's another thing that I tell people: stop watching the TV, because you're not going to hear any good news, and it affects totally any good that you may have done for yourself that day. It just takes it away from you within seconds. And I think there was just a collective energy yesterday. And when that lady called me last night, I was thinking, this has definitely got to come from what happened on Sunday here, because everybody was waiting for this huge message, and it wasn't what they wanted to hear. And it was unclear, the message. And so it just left more confusion. And so everybody was depressed and wanting to drink and do all of that yesterday. Those were the things that I was hearing. So anyway, so that lady was okay. And I said to her, I think it's emotional. Even though you may not expose yourself to it, I just think that there's an energy of negativity that has affected you. Okay. Yeah. So So as I was saying, I think that the emotional energy that was a negative one affected a lot of people. So I can't imagine how this week is going to go, how the end of the week is going to come to people, because they will be carrying that. A lot of confusion here. So yeah, I was talking about things to impart. So the vitamins, it's immunity. It's about immunity strength. So I ask people to drink lemon water in the morning, just to give themselves a bit of a clean out, and then to make sure that they incorporate those vitamins on a daily basis. And then it's things like I've suggested that people do oat baths, for calming the nerves, chamomile baths. Rose petal baths, really good for the heart chakra. Just gentle things that seem innocuous, but the body actually appreciates them and picks up and runs with that. Because until people have the experience where they can take a layer of the stress off, they don't actually know. It just seems so alien, but they're not speaking the language of the body and not hearing the language of the body when the body speaks to them. So I do ask them and suggest that they just incorporate those things in there every day. And it's also the practice of actually doing something for yourself, because most people are busy. If it's the father in the house is busy working, providing, blah, blah, blah. Mothers are always doing dogs, cats, kids, husbands and wives. And so this period of time where it's in lockdown, I think everybody should try to find, if it's only 5 minutes of time, to physically do something for themselves and feel what that feels like. Because you're not in the blind, got to go to work, got to do. You know, steal that time back and treat yourself and feel what happens. So yeah, other than that, no great shakes. Try and eat well, but that's not happening at this moment in time, because it's always fascinated me that we say, here's a treat, and we give them a big fat ugly chocolate bar or a whatever, something that's not got any nutrition in and loads of things that's going to take something away. So they all think they're treating themselves by eating all that rubbish food, which in its own way then creates an acidic base, and then that's all your body asks you for. So the alcohol thing is taking them onto another level in terms of nutrition. And then they want to do loads of exercise because they feel that they've abused themselves that way. You really don't have the energy to do that exercise because you've got the wrong fuel. And so it's a flip-flop situation. And so you just have to let it happen, because that's how it has to be at this time, because everybody's in a fear base. And that's it's hard to watch on some occasions, but what can you say?
I like the fact that you've exposed it, because it's important for people to know their own story. Sometimes I remember before I got into yoga and any of that, I was a young woman, and when you don't know, you don't know. And there was normal for me to be neurotic, and then up and then down, and then sick, and then just sort of a victim in my life.
It's a rite of passage in the Western world, in our socialization. It's a rite of passage, and you just hope, because I've done that journey too, that people at some stage get that moment, that window of clarity, and they go, actually, wow, I have a choice. And then they choose to go, because you don't just get it overnight. It is a process of learning and practice and ritual. And I just, my prayer for everybody is that window appears and they choose to go through it. Because it's so liberating. It's freedom. It's actually existing and living in your space and your power, and it's where we're supposed to be. Life is, the joys of all of that. A situation that happened to me probably about 5 years ago. I have a big connection with Italy, and I go back and forth. And I was coming back from Italy. It was Thursday afternoon at 12:30 or something like that. And you're on a plane, and they do all the do this, do that. The thing will drop out of the ceiling, blah. And everybody is blasé about that, because we've all travelled for so many years and a lot. Anyway, what happened was, and it was a strange scenario, because I met a Polish guy who had worked as a waiter in an Italian restaurant years and years before. And the Italian restaurant he worked in was a friend of mine, and he died. So I'd not seen this. He was a lad then, and he was a grown man. So this is a strange encounter that I bumped into him on this plane. It's like, hello, hello, hello. And he ended up being sat on the seat on the other side of the aisle to me. So I'd had that experience, which, brings you all back, all sorts of memories, etc. And then all of a sudden, we're going along, wasn't far out of Manchester, and we get what did he say? Emergency descent. So you get this booming scream, emergency descent, emergency descent. And it was like time was suspended, because I was looking around and I'm thinking, was I the only person that heard that? Because there was nothing, everything was still. And then all of a sudden, bang, all these things fell down, and you're in this crisis situation, and the plane is dropping. So the plane's dropping, everybody, the whole noise goes up, and everybody starts, the big hold your breath, everybody starts screaming, you could smell smoke, and it was turbulence. It was terrible. And I don't know whether it was 5, 6, 7 minutes. There was nothing, no communication from the captain anymore. My mask, it wouldn't come down, and so I'm trying, even though we were dropping, to get the one from the seat in front, which was empty, and it was chaos. I looked over to the right of me, and there was a couple with a little baby, and that just finished. It was like, oh my God. To be in that situation is bad enough, but when somebody's got a small child, it was like, I felt so bad for them. I can remember everything so clearly. I sat on the aisle, because I always sit on an aisle, and the people sat next to me were saying, it's on fire, it's on fire. And so I could smell smoke, but I couldn't see any fire. So I didn't know whether that was it. But all of a sudden, I just got this thing, because this guy, the Polish guy that I'd met, was said, are you all right? Are you all right? And he kept hitting me. And I just said, stop, you need to stop. And then I just got this whole calm over me. And I just thought, oh my goodness, if I am going to go in this moment, I'm not doing it flailing. I can't do this. So you need to just stop. And I was still. And it's interesting, because I have a son, and at the time I was looking after my mum who has Alzheimer's, and none of them came into my mind. I just had this moment where it was just me and peace, and I was absolutely calm. And the situation came into control. The captain came on. He said, I'm really sorry. We lost oxygen in the cabin and I had to drop. So we'd gone from like 30,000 feet to 12, something like that. And, you know, thank you, sorry, blah, blah, blah. I was so, so, so proud of myself. I didn't go anywhere. Then I'm definitely not going to let it stop me. You know, I've been flying for years, and it was such a profound experience. But I was so proud of myself. I was just so happy that I had that reaction. It was incredible. So, yeah.
I think that is, everybody needs that sort of bursting the bubble moment in their own lives. And it doesn't have to be that much
dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah. So perhaps this scenario of the whole world coming to a place of cessation and crises on so many different levels will be an opportunity for people to look on the brighter side.
I hope so.
Of a catastrophe, and to reassess everything in their lives. And I think that the biggest realization for me in my practice was that I was so used to feeling pain in my life that the thought of changing what was perpetually painful in my life, the fear of that pain seemed greater, the illusion of that pain seemed greater than just undergoing and enduring the pain I was used to for years and years and years. And I think everyone needs to come to that realization that you basically have to jump off your own cliff.
Absolutely.
And if we don't have that internal moment with ourselves, then it will just be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
All the time, yeah. We've got to have the choice to be able to say, this is about me. And, you know, I don't want this talk to sound as though it's all about me, but another thing was, I've just ran the LA Marathon, as you know, and you thought I was crazy. And it wasn't because, and it's interesting, I do find energetically that things happen. Last year, for some reason, and my life goes on, and I do, and I'm happy, and I can create situations. But last year, in about February, March last year, I thought, I need to do something. I'm in that state where I feel as though I need to step into myself. And obviously I'm not going to have a baby, because I would feel that would be the thing that would pull you out of yourself. And I decided to run a marathon. So I'm not a runner. I used to do sprints when I was a child for regional, stuff like that, but I am not a runner. So I signed up for it as I thought about it, and it happened, even though COVID was looming. I decided the night before, I flew to LA on the 1st of March and ran on the 8th of March. And it was that thing where it was in my head that I told myself I was going to do it. And I wanted very, very much the experience of stepping into myself and saying, actually, this is why you've done this. It's because you needed to feel that you could endure, that you could talk yourself through that. I wanted to feel that thing where, you know, I was saying to myself, why did you want to do this? Why is it so painful? It's not painful. It's a good time. And it was such an amazing experience for me for that reason. It brought me into myself. And so to finish that experience and then step out of that, pretty much the 12th of March, I've come back to the UK into this, you know, I'm not bothered.
Exactly.
Because I know that I'm strong. And so whatever this is that I don't understand, and nobody does, and every single person on the planet is in the same situation, which is the most bizarre thing. It doesn't matter, because it's out of my control, but I know that I'm good to go with whatever I'm left with and the choices that I have to make at the end of it. I'm cool with that.
I mean, that's a great definition of freedom.
Yeah, definitely, because it's wrong that we go through a situation like this where it upturns everything that you think was your life, and then you still don't have the ability to be able to choose at the end of it. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I think that everybody has to recognize that they are born with the right to choose, but they have to have everything on the table that are their choices. So let me make the right choice for them, because it will be different for everybody. And so, yeah, that again, it goes back to, that's what I feel, excuse me, everybody should have the opportunity to have, but you have to have clarity. And so if your foundation is right and you are nutrient dense, you are oxygenated at a cellular level, you are spiritually sound with yourself, you don't have to align that with anything. You just have to know that you have everything that you need inside of you to be able to live in your purpose and in your power, and you have the right to do that. And so when faced with these huge challenges, then that moment of stillness and that moment of calm, to just check in with yourself and decide, well, actually, this is the way that I want to go with this. And it's your birthright to be able to do that. But if it's like you come out of the storm of the being knocked sideways and living your life by reaction, and not eating well and not sleeping well because you're adrenally stressed because you've been trying to keep up with the machinery, and then you get thrown into this situation, and so you have a moment of reactiveness where, oh, I'm not going to take notice of this, and you're drinking and eating all the crazy stuff, and then the realization that you feel even more out of control than you did before, and then you start beating up on yourself and thinking that you're not good enough again. It doesn't make sense, and it's not fair, and it's not right. So that's the whole point of this. This is the time to reconfigure, to make sure that moving forward from this moment, you are always going to be able to make the right choices for yourself, because life doesn't make sense if that's not the case. And so it's a reset for everybody, and see this moment as a positive, strange as that may seem, but a positive that you've got the time, because where will we ever get this time again to sit with ourselves and work out? It's okay doing the physical stuff like throwing things out of your house, but even stuff like that, the amount of construction that has gone on just in my little street where I live, all of this stuff that you're doing, and you're present, and you know why you're doing it, even if it is to just not think about the situation of the COVID, etc. But that is you taking control and making that happen. That has to continue forever, ad infinitum. This is the new rebirth of where you have all of that optimism, dream, fantasy, whatever you want to call it, and you think, when I get older, when I grow up, I'm going to be. This is that moment. Go back to that, to feel that energy and feel that beautiful sensation of everything is available to me, and put it into place now, because everything is available to you when you come out of this situation. That's my belief.
Beautifully said, that we're being forced into looking at the quality of everything, the quality of our breath, the quality of our life, the quality of our choices, the quality of our discernment, the quality of our emotions, and to build rituals and practices in our daily lives with what is accessible to us, that resonates with what works for us. And if we can take the time to just be still enough and silent enough, the body will tell us what we need.
What we need to do, yeah.
And as a service to humanity, that the work that you and I both do is for, we carve to serve the greater good by reinforcing, helping, healing, practicing with tools and products to elevate people's lives so that they can truly become empowered in their own lives. That you're available even now, correct? With
yes, absolutely, yeah.
Conference calling sessions.
And
I know you said that if people need testing to find out diagnostically, you're doing hair sample.
Yes, I can do hair.
Can you talk about what that practice is and what it reveals to you as far as
Okay, so the biofeedback resonance testing, ordinarily, the client would come and they sit and they hold on to probes, which the body's energy and the electrical charge gives information which goes into a system in the computer that tells us which body systems are imbalanced. So it shows us where there is stresses or weaknesses. So it might say kidney stress, and it gives us a level of how much, and also a symptomology, because obviously, as I said, people come to me already sick, so they have symptoms. So there's a lot of work that we can look at in order to understand specifically to them what is going on. So ordinarily, I would do that with the person present, but I can also do it for animals. So people would bring the hair of the animal and we put it on the plate. It's an electromagnetic plate, and we place the probes, and I can run the test. So it tells me what vitamins, minerals. It gives me all sorts. I can test religion, all sorts of things. It brings up everything because it's holistic, and it treats with a homeopathic remedy. And so, yeah, so now in this case where we've got to have the social distancing, people bring the hair. So they can either bring it and wait outside, or they post it to me. And so I can still test for people that need it and then need a little bit of guidance still with managing their protocols, because a lot of people who take medication need to enable their system to be able to utilize the medication, because I work obviously with people who are medicated, and so the better that the body is functional, then the better results they're getting from their medications when they go to their doctors and blood tests, etc., etc.
It's fantastic. And they can reach you on Sonia. What's your website? We'll place the link as well.
Yeah, okay. It's So Natural Therapy. So it's Sonia at sonat-health.com.
Okay, and we'll put that link for people to get in touch with you if they need to. And also, you administer and distribute the liver cleanse program, which is one of your favorite cleanses. So anybody that's interested in undergoing a 2-week liver cleanse, sick or not sick, it's a great
sick or not practice. Sick, and better off not sick, to be fair.
Not sick.
Better off not sick. Then yeah, come. I've got the chandani.com liver cleanse here, which is amazing. And like, you know, we met because of that, so I love it even more. But perfect. I've always incorporated liver cleanses into my treatment protocols for anybody that came to me. But over the years, because of people's lifestyles, the traditional 2,000-year-old liver cleanses that I would recommend were hard work for people, because they had to remove themselves from their everyday life for a period of time in order to be able to do it effectively. And so I was looking for years for something that would fit in better with people's lifestyles, and when I found yours, it was like just manna from the heaven for me, and it is an amazing product. So yeah, obviously I have that available for people who need it.
Yeah, ours is, you know, we created it for the modern man and woman in their life today. You don't need to go off anywhere. It's very doable. Just 2 weeks of a high alkaline diet and 1 shake a day and plenty of water. Anybody can do it, and we highly recommend it, obviously, because we practice it ourselves. We would never distribute or share anything we didn't do to ourselves, which is the first ethics of a really good wellness practitioner. And secondly, to nourish the body as well as we can. Like we talked about that, the stress levels are high, so being really cognizant to our rituals, our practices, our self-care, taking that bath, taking that time to even just go for a small walk, breathing deep, having your lemon water. I mean, it takes discipline to cultivate these practices, but if we can just include 1 or 2 things, like you said, and then add slowly, so it doesn't seem so overwhelming. And I think both you and myself are available for people to contact us. You in England, for everyone in England, all over England can contact you to converse with you, to set up a session with you, perhaps go on a liver cleanse, test their hair, and really let's take control of the things we can take control of. So the frequency of people empowering themselves becomes a real force in this world. We need that more than anything, I think.
Absolutely. I had a guy call me last week and I did a FaceTime call with him, and he is a patient that came to me first in 2010 and I hadn't seen him since 2016, and he's in Vancouver. But you know, because he learned the skills and gets on with his everyday life. But like I've said to a lot of people, this situation has brought things to the fore that we thought were, you know, gone to bed. But it will create a situation because everybody's in adrenal stress. And so, like, you know, I did a FaceTime call with him, and it just reiterates and revitalizes the things that he's supposed to do, and he's getting on with them.
That's great. And then
So,
we also have, you also are taking your women's blend, your daily women's blend.
I am, sweetie. It's there. I've got it here. It's amazing. It's fabulous. Because you know, individually, the herbs that you've got in here, I would recommend to people anyway. But as a collective, it's a stunning. You know, even if people just did one drink of this a day, and that was the thing that they added, it would change their chemistry and allow them a little bit of relief on some level, whether it just be mentally, help them to sleep better. You know, women with all the menstruation and the hormonal problems, post-menopause, pre-menopause, whatever, all of that stuff gets affected by things that are in that, the ingredients in those shapes. And I've also, I've been taking both of these the last few days. Are you there, darling?
Yes,
there
right
there. It went off for a moment. I've been taking both of those over the last few days, and because I felt that I needed to. And yeah,
the
wonderful.
superfood blend. Yeah, superfoods are very high nutritional quotient ingredients that are not processed, that are just cultivated and harvested from the earth and used into powders that are organically and sustainably farmed. And so utilizing superfoods, because of the degradation of our environment and our soil, we really need high quotient nutritional products to really become part of our daily nutritional program. And so the reason we created with those was because all these different herbs and superfoods, you had to keep buying back. So we created these beautiful ratios of these blends so that it's just a one-stop shop. You just take it daily, either as a hot drink or in a smoothie or in an array of recipes. And it's a start. It's a start.
It is, absolutely.
You and I both practice very, very diligently and consistently. And sometimes we fall, but we pick ourselves up and we get back on track. And it's not to be dogmatic, not to be a fundamental.
Not at all. Not at all. It's survival. It really is living. And, you know, and like you just said, we can fall off, but it's just because life takes over and you don't realise that you might need to up your game a little bit. And it's like I haven't been taking the women's blend. And then yesterday morning I thought, I need the women's blend. And so, and you know, it switched on in my head. And that's only because I knew that women's blend existed. So it's about being open to the idea that you can actually change how you're feeling, living, and being. If you open yourself up to that idea, then the things will come to you that you need, and then you will see.
At any time.
Absolutely,
Always,
yeah.
always open.
Absolutely. You know, and I'd like to say to people, what would it be like to not be frightened, not to feel fearful anymore? Just think of that. How amazing would that feel? And, you know, there is an answer to that, and that is by just changing the way that you nourish yourself on a daily basis.
So beautiful. I mean, I think that, you know, now, like you said, now more than ever is the time to reassess and redesign everything. Even for you and I, we do that every single day.
Definitely.
So, to be humble enough and open enough and know that the opportunity and the choice is always there for us, no matter what the circumstance.
Definitely.
Well, it was really a beautiful conversation we've had, and I can't wait to do another one, perhaps more targeted towards one specific area where you and I can delve deep into the physiology and the science and the practice of that one area. But to initiate our Zoom conversations in this way, with this sort of general narrative on the situation we're at with COVID-19, with what's at hand, with the emotional crisis that is impacting all of us, no
Yeah,
matter who it is
definitely.
that we are, and for us to really unite as one voice and to be heard, and to also be able to listen to one another, and to be open enough to keep on growing and keep on healing. So thank you so much. I just want to
You're
ask
welcome.
you to close off our conversation with regards to total wellness, the practice of total wellness amidst this economical and health crisis that we are faced with today, just as a conclusion.
I think that when people come and they have to have a protocol that is alien to them, and they're going to start to go through the process of trying to offload some of the symptoms that they have and start their journey into wellness, I always ask people to do a food, mood, poo, and symptom diary, because it helps me to understand, whilst we're applying these new tools, to see what the language of the body is and what it's doing. And it's also a great thing for them, because nobody ever really acknowledges and is conscious of what is going on, because it's an encumbrance, isn't it? And they're busy getting on with work or looking after the kids or whatever, and so it's like, oh, I'll take a tablet or whatever. They're never really present with what is actually going on. And so journaling, I think, in this moment, you know, when it feels like you're stuck and you want to scream or you want to cry or whatever, if you write that down, because again, on reflection, it will tell you so much about your response to the situation that you're going through now. And so I think it will help, because you won't be stuck in your head. It will help people's mental health. You know, people have got a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. If that is written down, it's like if you say something, the load feels less. And so I think that would be a great tool for a lot of people, even if they can't bring themselves to changing the way that they're nourishing themselves. But I think it's just to find a positive in every single day. I am perfect, whole, complete as I am, and I love me. You know, look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that, because somewhere it will stick. So yeah, it's okay not to feel okay with this situation, but be conscious of the fact that you have the tools to be able to get yourself out. You've just got to find them. That's it. Yeah, take the vitamins, take the water, but you need not to alter your perception of what is actually happening, because the emotional state affects the physiological state in most cases. And so if you start to take control of one, then the others will fall into place too. And reach out, ask for help. You know, everybody's in a situation that is unprecedented, but don't feel that you have to fight, because it's not the case where you're not good enough anymore. No, but everyone's in the same situation. So ask for help, because somebody might just have a little jewel in the crown that will help you to unlock your dungeon, and then life looks totally different in that moment.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to post the links for Sonia, how to get in touch with her, how to consult her if you need to, and also if you need any Chandani products in England, you can prevent the shipping costs and this insecure time of trade and when you'll get your packages. And I am also available for anyone that wants to reach out anytime. We're here to support you as we are trying to support ourselves through this as best as possible. And we will get through this somehow. Nature is incredibly intelligent and complex, as is our minds and our bodies. Have deep reverence for both those things, for all life on earth, and we will get through this together. And there is hope, and there are a lot of beautiful things emerging. And it's been an absolute honor and privilege to speak with you today. And
you too,
I feel so lucky that we get to work together.
I know, me too. No, it's great. Absolutely lovely. Thank you.
Namaste.
I love you. Namaste. Take care.
Bye.